Hi guys, you're welcome to the second class of Design Easy using Photoshop. In today's class, we shall be looking at layers. Remember, this class is not to teach us design, but this class is to show us the work of every tool, their behavior, how they function, what you can use them for in Photoshop. And that's a good news for you. You'll not be cramming anything, any figure or any. You understand how everything works perfectly. So without any further ado, let's dive to Photoshop. So here we are in Photoshop. I want to explain the concept of layer. Let me pick my recent document. I would have loved to create a design, but to save our time, let's just go on. Okay, look at this design right now, because when you talk about layer is very important. In short, that is what made up Photoshop. If Photoshop happens to be a language, then layer will be the alphabet. And you know, for every language, if there is no alphabet, there won't be any lexical term, no vocabulary or anything. So anything you want to speak in Photoshop, then you need what? The alphabet, which is the layer. And I'll show you something right now for you to understand what I'm saying. If you look at this design that I have here right now, you get to see that is a nice design. Fine, thank you. Now, but let me explain how it is for you. Now, for everything that you have on this design, they are layers, and that is you can tackle them distinctly without disturbing other. Now, this is the plain paper. For every design that you see outside, this is how it's being made. It's always on a transparent paper. This checker box that you are seeing here like this, that looks like a draft, this is transparent. It's telling you that there's nothing below it, there's nothing on it. That's why you're not seeing anything. So if you create a background, you get to find the background layer, you put texture on the background, the texture layer. I can distort the texture and it's not going to affect the background. For example, the texture, the feel of the texture is 63. Look at the feel of the background, 100%. You can see they don't affect each other. So if I want to tackle this layer now, it's not going to affect this. So I put a text on it. Disturbing this text does not affect the texture. Are you getting this now? So Photoshop arrange everything in layer. Now if you look at all the old text that we have here, they are once a layer, but we group layers together. So let me ungroup it so that you see what I'm trying to say here. On group layouts, fine. You can see here is brand, here you speak about your, listen about your, see your. So I can tackle each of these layer without disturbing others. Are you getting this now? So if I want to group layer, you can group layer also in Photoshop. If I want to group layer, I'll click on Control and I'll be clicking on each layer that I want to group together, just like now. And I'll click on Ctrl G to group them, since G stands for what? Group. And if I don't want to use Ctrl G, I can just click on this what is it called, this folder icon here. It will group them together. Or you can just right click. Are you getting this now? And search for group layer here. So you can also do that in this place to group them together. So but the simple one, just Ctrl G. Now what if I don't want to be selecting it one? Okay, if I don't want to be selecting it one, I can do this. I'll click on the last bottom or the last top. If I click on the last bottom and I'll click on Control and Shift, then I'll click on the uppermost one. So it will select everything, including the one that is in between it. And if you decided to click the upper one first and you come to the most bottom one, and you click on Control Shift, you find it there, it select everything also. So click on Ctrl G So you can click on this text to rename it. So I'll rename it to be what? Team. Have you seen it now? So I'll rename it to be team. Am I making sense now? So that's how to group layouts in Photoshop. Now I bring in my image. This image was done using Illustrator, but the color that I use in making it is not in line with my brand color. How do I change my color in what? In Illustrator, sorry, in Photoshop. So I had what? Another layer called hue saturation layer. So you can see, just to bring up my color, so I can change this color without what? Affecting any of this design. We talk about that as we move on, so don't panic. Then here are the captions. Now these captions also, you can see that it is a group. I can open the group and tackle every individual text without destructing others. Then here is my logo, and that is how the design was done. So do you understand layer now in Photoshop? So everything that you are putting on your Canva, they appear as a layer. That is, you can tackle them without affecting others. Now, you know, in English language, we have just approximately, let's say, 26 alphabets. That's what we have in English language. Also, in Photoshop, when we talk about layers, how many layers do we have in Photoshop? Wow, even myself don't know. But last night, while doing my study, I found out that we have up to 2,000 layers in Photoshop. And guess how many of it I know? I will not disclose it, but I don't know up to 2,000 layers. That simply means I am still learning Photoshop. In short, all of us are still learning it. But there are four most basic layouts that you need to understand how they work, because all these four layers give birth to every other type of layouts that you might want to talk about when it comes to Photoshop. And what are those four layouts? We are going to be explaining them while we move on in this course. But for now, let us discuss what we refer to as layer property. When you talk about layer property, what are the properties of each layer? That is what we are referring to as layer property. And the first properties of layer that you need to understand as a designer using Photoshop is what? The opacity and fill. Now, for us to understand opacity and fill very well, then let us create a new document. So here is a new document that we'll create. When you create a new document in Photoshop, we'll discuss that in our first class. Now you can add color to this particular document in two ways, either by clicking Alt and you click on backspace. When you click Alt and backspace, what will happen is that it's going to fill the canvas with the color in the foreground. That is, it will fill the background color with the foreground color. So, but this is not a nice way of filling your, what's it called, your Canva. Why is it not a nice way of doing it? It's because it does not give you room to change the color after you've put it there. If I want to change the color now, watch, if I change the color of this Canva, that does not mean that, what's it called, the background color will change. You can see the background color still remain the same. Am I making sense now? So you see, sorry please, let me check my recording device. Okay, let's go on please, because the stuff used to stop at time and I will not know. That's why I keep checking often. Okay guys, back to class. So you can see when I change the foreground color, this color remains the same. So what's now the best way of what? Of picking a Canva color? The best way is to use the one of the layer that we are still going to be talking about later, which is the adjustment what? Layer. So let me Ctrl Z and come down to my adjustment layer. On getting to adjustment layer, I'll pick on solid color. So when I pick on solid color, I can input the value of color that I want here. So I'll be putting my brand color, which is 990099. This is one of my brand color. It's awesome, cool. Now here I am now. What is now the advantage of this? I no longer need this one again, so you can delete it. Fine. Now look at this one. Now I can easily change the color now to anything I want. You can see as I change the color here, it's changed. That's the advantage of using the adjustment layer instead of using the first method. Now I want us to understand what they call opacity and what they call fill. But before I start, I want us to understand some certain aspect of design. Your design will be awesome when there is proper depth. And when I say depth simply means the right perspective. When your design communicates the right perspective, then you are going to see that your design will be awesome and is going to be interactive. What do I mean by perspective? To make it real as possible. You know, people are familiar with things outside your design. So when you can now make your design to put in all those things that they are familiar with outside design, they get to resonate with you very fast. What do I mean? Now let me explain something to you about opacity. When you have 100% opacity, that is 100% opaque. When you have 0% opacity, that is 100% transparent. Where do all these statements come from? These statements come from what we have in the universe. In the universe, we have just two things. Things that are bringing about light and things that are reflecting light. Those are the two things that we have in universe. Things that are bringing about light and things that are reflecting light. Those are the two things that we have. As long as you are seeing, the principle that make you to see something lies on these two things. What brings about light and what reflects what? Light. Okay? So when you talk about what brings about light, things that brings about light, they are two. Are you getting this now? We call them self-luminous and man-made luminous. In short, anything that brings about light is called luminous object. And that luminous object, you can divide it into two. Self-luminous and man-made luminous. Are you getting this now? Man-made luminous is also artificial. And I'll be explaining how it affects your design. There are some images that they come with their light direction. The way those images are, they already come with what? Light direction. That is self-luminous images. And there are some image, you'll be the one to set the light. When you set the light in your image, when you set the source of light in your image, that is what we refer to as man-made in design. Are you getting it? That's man-made luminous. Now, what about the surface that reflects what? Light. Surfaces that reflect light, they are divided into two, because surfaces that reflect light are what we refer to as non-luminous objects. Objects that reflect light are known as non-luminous objects, and they are divided into three. Like I said, we have the transparent. Transparent are those objects that allow light to pass through them and you can see through them. Then we have what? Translucent. They are materials that allow light to pass through them but you can't see through them. Then we have opaque. Those are materials that does not allow light to pass through them and at the same time you cannot see through them. Now let us take it one after the other now, because that is where we are actually going. If you are looking at this object that I have here now, this particular object that I have on the canvas, it is translucent. Your background is translucent because it allows light to pass through it, but you are not seeing through it. Are you getting this now? We can see everything on this, like light shine on everything on this canvas right now. Can you see it now? But you cannot see what is behind it. It allows light to pass through because you are not seeing any part of it to be dark and any part, everything has what? Even color. So because they have even color, that is what make them to be translucent, but you are not seeing what is behind them. But let me take the opacity to 0. If I take the opacity to 0, you can see what is behind what that image now, because this is 100% what transparency. And transparency means what? Light pass through it and you can also see what through it. That's why we are seeing what is behind it clearly. Now what about opaque? Now for you to understand opaque very well, I will need to what type on this page. Now let me click on my type tool. Okay, so to activate your type tool, is that you come down to this place to pick it, or you just hit T on your keyboard and you have the, what is it called, the dummy text coming up to show you what the font you are using look like. So let's just write create, because we are creating something amazing here. Okay, check it in. Click on Ctrl T to transform it so that we can increase the size. So this is awesome. So the next thing is Ctrl A so that we can adjust this to the center. Click on Ctrl A and click on V so that you're going to select what the move to. Then this one means you are what? You are centralizing this thing according to the canvas. So click on Ctrl D to deselect. Now I don't like this color, I want to change it, and I would like to change this to my, what is it called, my secondary color, my brand secondary color, and that is FFCCOO. That's my brand secondary color. So, and you can see it's well combined. This is awesome. Okay guys, if I may ask, what color what is it called, color theory am I using? Which color theory is this? Correct, is the complementary color. We have discussed that in the class. Now watch. If you look at this material that I have here, and this is how you know when to put shadow and when not to add shadow to your text, or how to add shadow to your text, because opaque are what results to shadow. For example, when light fall on you and the part of your body that the light is unable to pass, that is what forms shadow. Are you getting it now? At times the shadow can form beside you, at times it can fall behind you. So as a designer, that is where you need to understand when to add your shadow, where to put the shadow, where the shadow should fall on. You don't just design, you design with reasons. Am I making sense now? So you know, if you are walking now and light shines in front of you, your shadow will cast behind you. If you are walking now and lights flash beside you, your shadow tends to what? So you get where I'm coming from right now. So if you look at these objects now, it's not only what is, you know, this is the canvas now, you can't see what is behind it, but this text is also covering some part of this canvas. Let me duplicate this text. Ctrl J to duplicate, Ctrl J to duplicate. Now let me give this particular one here, let me give it another color, so that you understand what I want to explain right now. Let me give it color like red. This is cool here. So if you look at this now, do you know if there's any text behind this one? Do you know if there's any text behind it? You don't know, because this particular text does not allow light to pass through it, therefore is obstructing you to see anything behind it. Are you getting this now? But you're going to see that there's something behind it aside from this. Let me offer this. Can you see? Can you see what is behind it now? You can see that when it is there, you are not seeing it before. That is opaque. Are you getting this now? So this is what we refer to as opaque. Let me delete this, we don't need it. So this is what we refer to as what? Opaque. Now if I reduce the opacity to 0, it becomes transparent, then you see what is behind it. Or I'm coming, let me Ctrl Z. Now watch, this is now, if I reduce the opacity of this one to 100, it becomes 100% transparent, then you see what is behind it. Can you see? If I increase it back to 100, it becomes what? 100% what? Opaque. You cannot see what is behind it. Do you understand this now? Okay, so that's cool. So let's delete this one, we don't need it. Yeah, fine. Okay, now you have understand opacity now. Now is there difference between opacity and fill? Now let's see, this is opacity. If I reduce this to 0, you can see what happened. Now let's see the fill so that we understand the difference between the two. If I you can see, you cannot see anything, Abby. It means they are the same thing, Abby. Okay, let's see if they are actually the same thing. Let's see if they are actually the same thing, because I'm not sure if you are going to be a teacher and you put something that they have no difference in the same place, who you want to impress. So let's see if there is difference between opacity and fill. Okay, so let's increase the fill of the stuff back to 100. Okay, sorry for all this background noise of it. I'm at home and that's why you're hearing those things, so please sorry. Now watch, let us now explain the difference between opacity and fill right now. So what are we going to do? I'll go to my blend option. Now how do I get to blend option? I can get to blend option in different way. I can double click on this, it will take me to blend option. That is one way. Second way is I can right click on it and go to this place and pick what? Blend options. And that's another way. I can also decide to click on f of x. When I click on f of x, I click what? Blend option. So it takes me down to this place. So anyway, you can get there. So this is bevel and emboss. If you click on it, it makes your text to look embossed. Everything that happens here is where your text effect take place. Your text effect does what? Take place here. Am I making sense now? So of the bevel and emboss, so what we want to use there is shadow. So shadow, how your shadow work is this. This is where you set the opacity of your shadow. Are you getting it now? You set the opacity of your shadow here, then click on shadow first. So you set the opacity of your shadow in this place. Can you see? Can you see now? So let's leave it as 100%, or better still, let me just reduce it a bit. Now this is the distance. This distance is telling you how far, how close, where is it to the left or to the right that you actually want the shadow to be, depending on where the direction of light is coming from. Am I making sense now? So and you can decide to push it like this and set it yourself if you don't want to use the panel. So this will control both the angle and the distance. Then another thing here is the spread. The spread is how much you want the shadow to spread. Are you getting it now? So if I'm not creating any special effects with it, I always leave it to be what? 0. So, and size is to tell you how deep your shadow, how deep do you want it. That is the level of the blurriness. The level of the blurriness. I think that's the right word to use. So I don't want it to be too blur, because if it is too blur, it's going to make all this place to be dark, and I don't want it. So let me reduce the size. There are times that you need something of such, and that's why you just need to understand what everything is, so that you can do what? You can do anything you want at any time. Now this noise is to add texture to your shadow. You don't just want it to be a shadow, to add texture to it. So let me just put it to be 2, but in most cases I do leave it as what? 0. So click on OK. Now this thing has a shadow now, so let's back to our discussion. Fill and what? Let me check this recording again. Okay, now fill and what? Opacity. Now watch what I'm saying now. Reduce the opacity to 0. Can you see anything? No. Now let us go to fill. So reduce the fill to 0. You can see something, right? This is the effect that we apply. The shadow is still there, but the text has what? Gone. That is the difference between opacity and fill. Opacity do what? It reduces the intensity of your object. Why? Fill reduce the intensity of your object but retain the effect. I'll take it again. Opacity do what? Reduce the intensity of your object without retaining the effect. Why fill will reduce the intensity of your subject or object and is going to retain the effect. The effect that you are seeing here is the shadow effect. It has reduced your what? Your subject, but leaving the effect behind. That's the difference between what? Opacity and fill. And this is one of the text effects that you usually download on FreePrick. You can see the way they actually create it. So it's simple. Photoshop is quite simple. Okay, let's see. We have understand this now, right? Now let's see other properties of this opacity and fill, how they work. This is one way. You can also use your opacity in terms of projection. your opacity can also work in terms of what? Projection. So let's close this document and let's pick this particular okay, let's do this. Let's keep this first. Okay, let's pick this particular image. Okay, look at this. I have a white sky. This is what? A white sky, but I want it to be dark. If I reduce the opacity, because this image is a raster image, it's going to affect everything that is on that canvas, both the tree silhouette, it will affect everything. But what I actually want is the sky only to be black. So for the sky only to be black, what I just need to do is to go and look for what? Another sky that is dark in nature, and I'll bring it down here and use my what? Opacity to make it fit into what I actually need. What is the Spanish that this guy is saying? It will be difficult. No, let's see. Okay, so let's go to our folder. So this is the tutorial folder, and I'll just come down to this place and pick the sky. Okay, yeah, I think this is the sky. It's fine. So you can see the dark sky now, so I'll drag it to Photoshop. Fine. Okay, so you can see this now, so let me scale it up. I want you to understand how everything works in Photoshop. Don't cram anything here, please. Just understand how things work. Now if I reduce the opacity, you started seeing the sky getting darker, Abby, but it's affecting the silhouette also, isn't it? So let me just change the blending mode to multiply. Can you see what I have now? So I have a dark sky now, just using my opacity. Am I making sense? You can see the way we change the sky right now. So good thing about layer is that it allows you to do and undo without regretting any of your action. So if I don't like this action after I've done it, oh, there's nothing to regret about. Just off it. Bam! You have what you have initially without you regretting that why do I do it before. That is what makes this software so unique, if you understand its alphabet. Okay, so let's see again how we can use the blend mode. Now that's another property where we need to understand, and I think we need to take a special class to understand the blend mode, how they work very well, because they also have their own effect. Although there's a way you can do try by error and you are going to arrive at a brilliant result, but I want us to understand everything in Photoshop. No, don't cram anything. Oh, he used soft light, he used those. Why did he use soft light? Why did he use add light? Why is it that he used what? Screen? You are going to understand that. Just stay tuned. Okay, let's go in and pick I want us to understand our blend mode now. So let's pick this particular one now. Okay, oh, okay, that file is not saved before, so let's see. Okay, so let's come down to this our work document. So let me just drag this to Photoshop Direct. Okay, so sorry, here I am in Photoshop, so drag this to Photoshop. Okay, so I have this right now. Look at this sky now. This design, this particular image will have been more beautiful if all this what is it called, the sun ray that I have here, if they are closer to this particular place, because this is like a sun about to set. So how do I create that? Now let's see. Okay, unlock this so that it becomes a layer. So what's the next thing we'll do? Let's add a layer on it, and we click on plus to add what? Layer. So we already have a layer on it, so you click on your brush tool. Now if you look at my brush tool, you can see that it shows a cross sign. Why it's showing this cross sign is because my cap lock is on. Off your cap lock so that you have the what? You have the circle. Now this color that I have on my foreground is not really good for sun, So colors that can actually work for sun is probably orange or yellow or red. So let me change this color to orange. Although you can sample a color from here with your eyedropper too. So you can sample any color you like here with your eyedropper too. Is that taken now? Okay, so let me just go directly and pick orange color. Okay, so here is orange, and what I will just do is just to hit this place once. Can you see it now? Is it okay? It's not looking nice. Are you getting this now? It's not looking what? Nice, because it's not giving us the effect that we actually need. But don't worry, I get you covered. Okay, I can decide to put another one here, but the problem I will be having right now is that if I put another one here, I will not be able to edit these two distinctly. So let's reverse it now. So if I want to put another one here, create another layer for it so that you'll be able to do what? You'll be able to tackle them differently without affecting order. Because looking at this place now, what you are having here is not the same thing as what you are having here. So if you are trying to apply the same effects to them, in some cases you can have a good result, but in most cases your results cannot be perfect and you'll not be able to deal with them separately. Is that taken now? Fine. So what's the next thing to do now? Let's go to our blend mode. Here I'll tell you how we can use opacity and how we can use fill. Are you getting me now? So come down to this place. You can toggle and toggle here if you don't know what you actually need, but because I understand how all this blend mode actually works, I'll just go directly to color dodge. Now if you look at it now, color dodge give me that sense of being it sun. You can see the sun is just about to set. Can you see what the effects we have in here? Can you see the way it looks now? Now let me explain another thing that opacity does for you. If I reduce the opacity of this thing, you can see it's reducing the intensity. Are you seeing it now? But if I reduce the fill, the intensity will remain the same. Are you getting it now? But the projection is what will be reducing. Can you see? The projection is what? Reducing. So you have to know which one to use when you want to reduce the intensity and when you want to reduce what? Projection. Am I making sense now? So let's take it back to 100%. Okay, so let's move back and see what we have. Can you see what we are having right now? Is the sun there before? No. I can take it there. This is before and this is after. You see, it looks so unique and natural. Are you getting this now? And you can reduce the size or increase the size if you are not okay with what you are seeing. So can you see? Okay, if it is to reduce it that fits what you actually want, it's fine. So let me reduce it a bit like this. Fine. Now you know when the sun is about to set, we always see the reddish part of the sun. Abi, do you know why you are seeing the reddish part? Don't worry, in another class we'll be explaining that. Okay, why the sky is blue during the sunrise and why the sun is red during the sunset. Okay, let's go on now. Now I want to create the reddish part of the sun when it's about to set on this same part. So what I will do is that I'll change this my foreground color. Just double click on it and change this to red. So this is actual red. So it's this place now, bam, just like that. Then what's the next thing you do? You reduce the opacity. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to put it on another layer. So click it and put it on another layer. Okay, fine. So you can see what we have right now. So change this one to soft light. Can you see it now? So nice. Can you see can you see that the red actually make it look so real? So if I remove it now, can you see what I have? And these are the things we call photo manipulation that you are about to. Can you see before, after, and after? Can you see it now? So this is what they call photo manipulation. When you are putting what is not there, you are putting it there and it's making sense. Is that taken out? Okay, so I believe you have understand how the blend mode actually works right now. Okay, that's awesome. Now let's see another way of using blend mode. The blend mode can also be used when you are trying to create overlay. When you are trying to do what? Create overlay. And you're going to understand what I'm trying to say right now. So let's stop this. We are done with this one. Let's go into another one. So okay, this image is not there. So let me go and search for it, please. Okay, Okay, I think this is the girl's image. Yeah, okay, so let's take it in now. Okay, this is fine. So we create a new document with it. So can you see what I'm seeing right now? If you look at this picture now, everything is green, but I want to create some effect, some dramatic effect on it. So I'm going to download overlay of color that I like. So remember, my brand color is purple, so I have overlay that actually suits that particular color here, and I'll be explaining something to us here, so I would like us to pay max attention. Oh, my Illustrator is opened. Okay, so that's not where I'm actually going, so let me come down here. Okay, fine. Please let me check using a still recording. Okay, fine. Okay guys, so pick this overlay and drag it to Photoshop. Here we have. Now let me rotate it like this. Okay, I think like this will be fine. So let's increase it to full the camera. Yeah, awesome. Okay, can you see this now? So if I change the blend mode of these things to multiply, can you see the color it gives me? Okay, but I don't want that. Let me change this to soft light. Wow, guys, see, this is awesome. Now let me show you something before I proceed. Let me try rotate this thing so that you understand what I want to explain now. Now look at this now. Can you see where the sun is actually, where the light is coming from? Now I want to add smoke effects to this thing. Let's pretend that I don't know. I want to add smoke effects to this, and I come here, I pick smoke overlay and come down to this place. This is smoke overlay. Can you see this? So let me rotate it like by 90 degrees. You see right now. Now me putting this smoke here, I want you to observe something here now. I want you to observe something, and this is where your perspective of your design is very, very important. Perspective in design is very, very important. Now let me change this. If you want to hide every black that you have in something, and you want it to reveal the white in it 100%, the blend mode that work for it is called screen. But you know the problem I'm having right now? The problem I'm having right now is that this thing I did here is rubbish. How is it rubbish? The smoke supposed to be coming from the direction of the sun. Are you getting where I'm coming from now? But the smoke is coming in an opposite direction of the sun, and that's why you can see that it's not looking unique, it's not looking nice. So how do I do that? I'll just do what? Control T and do what? Reverse the case of this. So can you see this now? You can see when the direction of the sun is in line with the direction of where the smoke is coming, it creates awesome design. If I want this effect to increase, I can just what? I'll just keep on duplicating it. Can you see? The more I duplicate it, the more the smoke increase. So let me take it back to what we have before. So also this particular overlay, I can decide to bring it up and see what the effect will look like when it is up and when the smoke is below. Oh, I think this is more beautiful compared to what I have earlier, and that is how we work. Are you getting it now? So let me Ctrl J so that I increase the effect. Oh, I guess this effect is too much. Let us reduce the opacity, the intensity of it. Let's reduce it to a very small value. Okay, I think this is okay. I think this is nice now. So can you see this now? Can you see what we have before? Okay, can you see what we have before? Can you see what we have before? Look at what we have now. I'm coming. Let me do something like this. Okay, let me group them together. Ctrl G. Can you see what we have before? Can you see what we have now? Can we see what we have before? See what we have now. Just using what? Blending mode. Just blending mode. Am I making sense? Fine. Okay, so That's that about the blending mode. So let's move on to discussing the types of layer that we actually have in Photoshop. There are 4 most fundamental layers that you need to understand, and that includes the raster layer. So let's start from there. You don't need to save this. Cool. So let's create a document. I think this is fine. So let's fill this background color with a good or a reasonable color. Let's just go with my brand color again. Okay, so alt backspace. Now if you look at this now, any layer that you create in Photoshop, I want you to note this, any layer that you create in Photoshop is known as raster layer. And what does raster layer means? Raster layer means a layer whose pixels are already fixed. The pixels has been what? Fixed. And I'll show you the difference between them now. Now let's see. Let me create another layer on it. This is also what? A raster layer. And pick my brush tool. Okay, let me reduce the size of the brush and change the kind of brush I have to something else. Okay, I want to change this to something that I can actually write with. Okay, sorry, just trying to check for a usable brush. Okay, let me check this general brush. Okay, okay, so let me pick this now and write with it. Okay, so let me change the color to white. Oh, sorry, because I'm not using pen, so let me just reduce it more. Yeah, so you can write with your mouse. Okay, this is raster. So if you are using a pen tablet, this will be very nice, or you'll be able to write very nice. So okay, I know which way we go. Now what I want to show you here is this. Look at this layer right here. Now I want to explain the difference between the raster layer and a smart object for you. You can see that this thing is quite sharp now. Can you see? It's detailed, like it's very sharp now. But if I reduce the size, let's say I reduce the size like this to something very small, there's a problem now. Before, let's say I have something like 100 pixels. That's what I have when I create it, and I'll reduce this to something like 20 pixels. There will be problem for me to take it back to that 100. If I increase the size now, you see that it's not going to be sharp like it was before. Can you see? It's not sharp like it was before. Watch. Can you see? It's not as sharp as what you have before again. You're not seeing the detail. See, I've reduced it like this. So what this one simply means by reducing it like this is that it has packed all the O pixels together. So if I increase this, the details will not be there again. It's not sharp like it was before. But now let's take, for instance, let's Ctrl Z all our actions, and let's take for instance that we convert this thing to smart objects. Let's say this thing is a smart object. If I want to convert this to smart object, which is another layer, I'll right click and convert to what? Smart object. So having this smart object, if I reduce the size and it's very small and smaller than anything, and I increase it back, it remains the same. It does not pixelate. That's the difference between a smart object and a raster. So when you see somebody converting to what? to smart objects is because when they are increasing and decreasing the image, so that it's not going to lose what resolution. Because if they leave it as raster, once you decrease it, if you want to increase it back, it will have, the resolution would have what reduced, because the pixels will have fused inside one another. Are you getting that now? Now, how do you know that this layer is a raster layer and this layer is what a smart object? For smart objects, you get to see this sign here. Can you see? Can you see the sign here? That's the sign to tell you that this thing is a smart object. But if it is a raster, let me Ctrl Z and see. Can you see? There's nothing like that here. So this is a raster layer. Have you seen the difference? Now that's how to differentiate between a raster layer and a pixel, a smart layer. Okay, so let's quickly round up. The video is getting lengthy, so let's delete this now. Fine. Another reason why raster layer, a smart object is better than what's it called, a raster layer, is this that I want to show you right away now. Look at something. Look at this, my image. Let me give it a background. Okay, just click on Control and this plus button, so it's create a layer underneath. Okay, so click on Alt and backspace. Click on the layer that you just create now, Alt and backspace. So I'm giving it a background now. Now look, if I convert this, my image right now that I'm having here is a raster image. Now watch something. If I take it to camera raw filter, camera raw filter is where you adjust the texture of your images, where you re-edit your image, you give it some certain retouch, you increase the shadow, reduce the shadow, all those stuff. That is where it happens. So if I click on what camera raw, look at what will happen on getting there. And I just want to show you some certain things so that you understand how it works. Now I'm currently on my camera raw now, so I'll come to color profile because I want to change this to black and white, and I'll change this to monochrome. So clicking monochrome will make it to become what black and white. Awesome, right? Okay, so don't worry, we are not editing. I just want to show you some certain things here. So let me reduce my shadow. You can see shadow in this case now. You can see my beard is forming a shadow. If I reduce the shadow here, if I reduce the shadow, can you see that beard part is getting transparent? Are you getting it now? Every dark part of the body, you can see their shadow here. Watch it very well. If I reduce it now, you can see the shadow is increasing. If I increase it, can you see the shadow is gone? Can you see? So increasing it now, the shadow gone. If you decrease it, the shadow increase. Can you see that now? Okay, so we don't have any shadow here. Can you see? I put it on 50 Abby. Now let's take for instance that I increase the texture also to something like this. You can see the texture of my skin is coming out well, Abby. Correct. And if I want this to smooth completely, can you see? So this is how your editing is being done. Are you getting it now? So just watch. Let's take for instance now that I'm done, and I'll click on OK, for example. So once I click on OK, I cannot go back to re-edit this image again. Anything I want to do now is permanent. If you are hearing, it shall be permanent. It has been permanent. I cannot do anything again. Why? Because it is raster. If it is smart object, I can still go back and change anything. But for raster, once you do it, you've done it. None here. So let's Ctrl Z and let's convert this. Let's convert this my image to smart object. Have you seen it now? Let's go through the same procedure. Filter, camera raw, then let it open. We are waiting for the camera raw. Okay, fine. So let's do the same thing. Monochrome. So let me just note my values. I will increase my, what's it called, my whites. I don't want to increase the whites. Let me turn it back to 0. So I want to increase the shadow. Note my shadow is on 41. My highlights, can you see the way it works? So let me reduce my highlight a bit. Minus 14. You know, we're not actually doing any editing here. I'm just trying to show you the difference between rasters, and if you are into photo retouching, we are going to talk that better. So just follow up with the class. Don't worry, you have nothing to lose. Can you see the picture is getting brighter and brighter? So note all these values. So if I click on OK, even if my village people follow me, Are you getting it now? I can go back and re-edit. Can you see it now? So if I'm not okay with this result, I want to change something, I'll just click on my camera raw filter back. So clicking on my camera raw filter back will take me to the panel, and you can see the values remain the same. So I can toggle around and change something. Have you seen the difference between a camera raw, a smart object, and what is it called now? The difference between smart object and layer, raster layer. So let's go to the next type of layer, which is the third type of layer that we are going to be discussing in this class, and that is what? The adjustment layer. Wow, somebody asked me some times ago that how do I always do all my posts, that everything is always purple. How do I do it? I'll show you here. There's nothing to fear about. It's simple. So what I do is this. Let me just okay, let's pick this first sample and take it down here. So let's create let's just take it there. I have this beautiful girl. I'll be showing you two different ways. Sorry, don't just worry. Let's see how you can. I'm not showing you how to change cloth here, but I want to show you how the adjustment layer works. If I click on the adjustment layer, let's remove this thing from the girl. Now this adjustment layer, how it works, just like the blending mode. The blending mode is working to show the interaction of the layer below a certain layer, the projection of the layer below your one layer, what the reaction is it on the other. Anyhow, don't worry, leave English, let's just understand what I'm trying to say right here. How the adjustment layer work is this. You can see this is the layer here, Abby. So if I want anything to affect this layer underneath, I'll come here. Let me start from the hue saturation. Now saturation, it is how intense you want the color to be. If I increase the saturation of this color, now you can see what's happening. You can see the image is become more brighter, but I don't want to increase the saturation. Let me just leave this to what it is. Now this is the hue saturation. Can you see? As I'm changing it, all the colors are changing. But let me say I just want to be particular about the color that she's putting on. What will I do? I'll just click on this hand. Can you see? And click on this blue cloth. Then that will be the only thing that will be changing now. Anything that has to do with blue in our life will start changing. Can you see? Okay, and I think I like this. It's awesome. You get to see our shoe also. You can see that it's changed, because that our shoe, our footwear is also blue. Anything that is blue on this thing will keep changing. Now look at this thing that you're having here now. If assuming that I have another layer under this particular one, these changes will be affecting it. If you want these changes to just affect the immediate layer only, you can do it in two ways. You can do it in three ways. You can decide to right click on this thing and create clipping marks. Or if you don't want to do that, you can click on Alt and click in between. Click Alt and click in between the two layers. Then you hit it. Are you getting it now? It has clip marks it like that. Or you come here and click this. Once you click this, it clip marks it. So anything under this one will not be affected. I believe I'm clear. So that is how this works. Now let me see. What if this color? Okay, let me drag in another sample image so that we wrap it up with that. Okay, so let me bring this in. Okay, look at this beautiful girl. Can you see? Okay, let me just zoom in. Can you see this image now? This guy is putting on different clothes, and I want to change the color of the cloth. What will I do? Just come here, adjustment layer. It's not only color that you can change under adjustment layer. You can change levels, curve, all those things are what we are going to be discussing how they work as we go on. Just understand this. Now this is the one you can easily grab. That's why we are starting from it. Is that taken out? So okay, now that you've clicked on the adjustment layer, so what you want to do now, you want to change this blue color, but there is a problem. So you can just, like, since it is two color, you are having white, you are having, so just colorize. When you click on colorize help you to change the whole of the color to one. Are you getting this now? That's what colorize does. So it's going to change what? The whole of the images. So let me increase the intensity. Are you seeing it now? It has converted to just one color. So it's not really making sense. You can see what that does. So let me uncheck it. Okay, so sample the blue, then you start changing the value. Can you see? Okay, you can see. So you can do it as much as you want. But now let's take for instance that as you are varying this panel, you still don't get what you want. Are you getting it now? How can you do it, sir? This is how you can do it here. I want to change the color of this cloth, but I'm varying the hue saturation panel, but it's still not giving me what I want. So what I will just do is that I'll just come here and select this. If you click here now, you get to see other tools here. So click on what? Quick selection tool. Then use this to select our clothes. Can you see? I've used this to select our clothes now. So I'll just come down to my adjustment layer. Click on the adjustment layer, click on solid color. Are you getting it now? Change this to any color you want. Let's change this to FFCCOO. So you click on OK. It's not looking real, Abby. Don't panic. There's nothing to panic about. Change the blend mode to color. Are you seeing this now? Okay. So don't worry. Something is wrong there, right? Yes, I can see it. It's not giving you what you actually need, isn't it? This is because of the interaction between the current color and the previous color that you have there. So how do we what? How do we take care of that? Don't worry, we can take care of that. What you just need to do first is to change this image to black and white. So come down to adjustment layer and change the image to black and white. So now that you've changed the image to black and white, you can come back to this place, click on this, okay, and then I have this. So this is black and white. Then I'll select this again. So adjustment layer, solid color, FFCCOO. Okay, so no, let it be above it. Can you see this now? So if I change this to color and I still have the same result as earlier, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to check other blending mode. Can you see this now? So color dodge, then I'll just reduce what? The opacity a bit. So you've successfully changed the color. Okay, so let's quickly look at the last aspect of this class, and let's do just little double exposure. Okay, so sorry. Now let's take for instance that I want something else to replace this man's head. So we'll come down to our folder. Let's check if we are not too far, because I don't want the videos to be too long. Oh, almost an hour. Wow. Okay, let's accelerate things so that we can call it a day. Okay, so let me pick okay, sorry. Oh, there's problem here. Okay, change I think. Okay, here is a tree silhouette, so let me bring it here. Yeah, so I have this now. Look at it. I'll scale it up. Just watch what I actually want to do with this. So for those of you that always get surprised with what you see online, it's normal, but I think we should be able to get over it here. Okay, so look at what I want to do right now. I'll just come down here and reduce this. Okay, it's too much. Okay. Okay. Coming. Can you see this underline layer? Can you see the way it works? Let me take this here. It's not working. It's not giving us what we want. So let's try this. It's not also working. I think this will work better. Okay. So click OK. Then, oh, I think I'm doing something that I don't want to do. Okay. Okay, let me do something. Let's see. Let's reverse the case here. Like I said earlier, I said we don't want this class to be cramming. We want you to understand everything going on. So please let me take it all over again. So here is the silhouette I bring in. I want it to show on the part end of this. So let me rotate it so that it will make sense. Let me flip it vertically like this. Okay. I think it will make sense like this. Then just clip max this here. Have you seen this now? So you can readjust it. Can you see? So you can come down here and change the blending mode to anything of your choice, the one that you feel that is going to work well. Soft light does that. Can you see? Okay, so okay, this is overlay. Okay, so can you see how it is now? So this is a very short double exposure. Can you see what is happening on his head now? So if you're not okay with some certain things there, you can just clean off your cap log. Okay, come down to this place, change the brush back to, I'm not seeing my cursor. Let's increase the size. Then let's change the brush to soft round brush. So make sure your foreground color is in black, because we're going to talk about marks later in the class. Talk about marks later. So you have to clean those parts that you don't want. It's need for you to clean those parts that you don't want, like this place, the one in the ear. You need to clean it, as you don't need those parts. So you can change, you can vary the image direction or its position, so something relatable to what you actually want. So okay, I think this is fine. So click on the mask. We are going to talk about masks in the next class. That is layer masks. That's the last type of layer that we are going to be discussing. So clean all these ones, they are not needed. And clean it over here also. So you have this now. So guys, this is a very good place to stop. I believe you enjoy this now. If you want to replace the head of this guy with something else, you can also do the same thing. Just get the image of whatever you want and use it as overlay, and that is how you can get your work done. So thank you.